Welcome to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. This is Elizabeth Townsend Guard, your host, and I'm a law professor at Tulane University Law School and a faculty fellow at the A.B. Friedman School of Business at Tulane. And I just want to quilt. Hi, so today we're interviewing Kim Bourgeois Landry. She is from down the road in Lafayette, and she's talking to us about her obsession with rescuing abandoned or estate sale quilts. And we're so going to do stuff with her. So cool. Talk about G's Bend.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm really a beginner. I'm less than 3 years in, but I'm just in love with stitching. I just am so enjoy with it.
That's great. Okay,
Oh.
cool. We'll do that. Awesome. Okay, so we're just going to chat. We're going to do the first things first, though.
Okay.
I need, because I know, but for preservation purposes, tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Okay. I'm Kim Bourgeois Landry. I'm calling from Lafayette, Louisiana.
And you have like one of the most Louisiana names ever, right?
I do. I'm full up.
You're full up.
I'm full up with Louisiana names. And when I was like in kindergarten, it was so hard to learn to spell Kimberly Bourgeois. I was just like, so unfair.
It's so unfair.
Like Ann Jones or something.
Right, exactly. Right. My kid had it really easy. She's kind of, yeah, interesting. So yeah, I wouldn't have known it was a Louisiana, but it's totally a name from Louisiana.
Yeah, totally legit.
So you're totally legit. It's true. No hiding. You're like, no, I'm from California. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Okay, so tell me your first memory of someone sewing or quilting in your life.
My grandmother was a quilter, a hand quilter, and she won ribbons at county fairs. Yeah.
So we just like maybe an hour ago, we just are going to be we're sponsoring something, which we're always, and we're sponsoring a hand sewing quilt along that's starting like in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay, I'm in.
And it's free. And it seems really cool, right?
I think hand quilting is, I think it's really, people say, oh, it's so old fashioned. I think it's really hot and really hip. And I think it's a subculture.
I think so
and
too.
Really cool people are hand quilting.
Totally. So this is it's like a 9-week thing where they're going to teach you how to do all the things for hand quilting, and it's free. And we're a sponsor. So
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Will it be in NOLA or will it be
No,
online?
it's going to be online.
Oh, fabulous.
It's going to be online. And what we're giving is 2 interviews for people experiencing it. So they'll do it as part of the prizes that they'll come on the show and talk about their experiences. So that's our first foray into being But I think what you're saying is like our grandmothers quilted. So for most generations, they were hand quilting. Mm-hmm. Right. And so to get back to that and sort of feel like what that is, what that kind of quilting is. I mean, I love English paper piecing. I mean, sometimes I hate it, but most of the time I like it. Right. I think it would be really interesting to piece the way our grandmothers pieced,
Yes. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't learn how to piece from my grandmother or anything. My grandmother's been gone quite a few years now, but she got to an age probably while I was in my early 20s where she stopped piecing. She only quilted.
Really?
She bought quilt tops.
She bought quilt tops?
From what she called piecers.
I like that. That's interesting. I haven't heard that before. Because she liked the quilting part, right? She liked the quilting part of it. She didn't like the piecing part.
Well, and I think that it got to a point where she wanted to do what her favorite thing was.
Yeah. Which
was the quilting, the top stitching. And I shouldn't say top stitching. It's not top stitching, but...
No, but we understand. The quilting part, yeah.
Right. She liked to complete it.
And have you done hand quilting? Have you ever done hand quilting before?
I am a hand quilter.
You are a hand quilter.
What I do is I collect vintage quilt tops because I'm I'm a treasure hunter by nature. Oh my gosh. If there's
Yeah.
a flea market within 50 miles of me,
I still have to go with you because I never understand how to do that. I always want to like find interesting things, but I just get overwhelmed by it and like don't see anything. So
It's
we'll have to go
very
on an
easy.
adventure together.
It's so very easy to get overwhelmed. But I'm going to tell you, for a long time, I was a sales manager at a high-end furniture store for a long time, and we went to market. And I think that's where I learned to train my eye to see only one thing at a time.
Oh,
And sometimes you have to go through a showroom 4 times before you see the lamp that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? Because it's and flea markets are the same way.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
So, and quilting is the same way. And when you look at a patchwork quilt, it's overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's true.
But you have to train, like mouse medicine. You just have to see little things at a time.
I've never heard that phrase.
Right. Just get real small and just
mouse medicine. Totally mouse medicine. Okay. So that is all really cool. So you did not learn hand quilting from your grandmother, but you do hand quilting, and you like vintage tops, and you quilt on vintage tops. Do you... what kind of backing do you put on them, and what kind of batting do you use on the vintage tops?
I am using wool batting.
You are.
And using muslin backs. Now, I have been very careful about the things that I've quilted so far in my first 3 years have been what would be called a wonky quilt. They don't necessarily lay flat.
Yeah.
Their seams aren't perfect. They're a little wonky like I am. Kind of.
I like that.
They need a little bit of loving. And that's probably why they had been abandoned or left in a drawer. They had never been quilted because they didn't lay perfectly or the seams didn't match.
Right.
So I know I'm not ruining a beautiful piece of art.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? I've been learning on these.
Yeah.
I have collected some that I probably won't quilt until I'm a very good quilter. Or I will have to hire someone with great experience to finish them because, they're really quality fabrics, quality stitching, perfect points. And you have to wonder, who were these women and men that quilted back in the day with no rulers and no special lighting? I mean, I have a different lamp for everything.
Right.
Do you know? And a different pair of scissors for everything.
Right. We're like way overly tooled.
I'm tooled up. And all of these points were matching. And sometimes I will buy at a garage sale or something, a box, and there'll be quilt pieces in there. And their patterns are on newspaper. It's like, how did that hold up for them to make those, to get perfect points?
Yeah.
I think we really underestimate how really brilliant, really engineer minds, mathematician minds that were raising their children and cooking their stew and quilting at the same time.
And this is their not only creative but engineering outlet. That in another era,
I have
they would have been an engineer or some computer programmer or doing all kinds of things. Because we see the reverse, right? We see engineers and math people and all these other people that are sciencey people doing quilting. And so it doesn't mean, I think they're just there.
Right. I can't see myself ever designing only because of the math and engineering that's connected to it. It's really,
totally
I'm just
crazy.
like, man, they were like, I don't know what they were, but they would have been like, the astronauts,
right,
and the engineers,
that's
and they
totally
would have been
agree.
the head of all the Fortune 500 companies.
That's right. But there isn't the opportunity, so that they're doing it in their quilts.
Back in the 1800s or the early 1900s, really.
That's so cool.
It would have been the techies, I guess, right?
Yeah. Now, I've said this before. I feel like quilting is more than just putting fabric together. I feel like we are imbuing love or something about us, some personhood aspect into the quilts. Do you feel like that when you pick them up and when you find them?
Oh, I absolutely do. I feel that way. I mean, the little comedian in myself. I mean, first of all, I think this is my superpower.
Yeah.
I'm kind of collecting things that are, forgotten jewels.
Yeah. So
and I'm
cool.
collecting, to go on to their next life.
Yeah.
And I very often think, whose hands touched this? How many tears fell on this fabric? And not from the needles, but from whatever was going on in their life. Because
what were they doing? Like, why were they making this? What were they thinking when they were making this? Yeah.
For me, especially hand quilting, I do have a sewing machine. I'm learning how to sew on it right now. And it's fun. It's a different vibration. It is fast, hurry to the end. It's exciting. You can do a whole seam in just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And hand quilting is very contemplative, So really, it is like prayer.
It is like prayer.
It is like prayer.
People talk about meditation. It's so funny because I just had an interview with someone who talked about, like, when they have a problem with their company, they were talking about prayer. They turn to prayer, and I think prayer as a concept, it's this inward, outward thinking, letting go, thinking through. Meditation, I think it comes in lots and lots of forms of that same space of quiet thinking, letting go, being creative, being at peace or not at peace. It's just a space. I can't quite, personally, I'm not like super religious, but I went to Catholic school and my mom's Jewish, and like there's a lot. Like, religion's a kind of a weird space in my life. But I really do appreciate that space of, like, it's something more. It's quiet.
What you said was, like, in the beginning, just of this paragraph, this conversation we're having, it's the in and out, and that's stitching.
That's stitching.
It's
that's
the
right.
In, out,
the in and out,
the up and down, the in breath and the out breath.
That's really interesting. I think that's true.
It really is. And
I love that.
When you're hand stitching, you really do. You get into the rhythm of the quilt, I have to say. Oh, my dog is
That's okay.
Dogs.
My dogs will hear your dogs, and we'll be good. Does your dog, when there's knocking on the TV, do they get upset?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's a UPS truck delivering.
Do you need to check?
Let me do that.
Okay.
So, let's see, what we're talking about. Oh, we're talking about a flow or getting into a rhythm.
That's right. I remember my mom said that when her dad died suddenly, and my mom was like a total, like, her dad was everything to her. And so she cross-stitched this huge piece. And she was so in mourning that she cross-stitched half of it within like 6 months. And it was like this kind of amazingly, like, she just poured really all of her sorrow into this quilting. So what you're saying about what tears might have been shed, or what this quilt meant, what's happening with the person that's quilting it is really interesting.
It is very interesting. And for me personally, I don't know what it is for everyone else, but for me, it has helped me through the grief of losing my mother. I will tell you that. I resisted quilting. My grandmother did try to teach me when I was a little girl. She was from Virginia. So we saw her a couple of times a year for a week or two. And she was always sat down with me. And she had several grandchildren. I don't know if she did this with the others, but she tried to teach me how to put the needle in and even how to listen for the needle on the underside. She said it'll make a little sound. Just pull it across the thread and you'll hear. It'll make a sound when it goes past the thread where it needs to come back up. It'll tell you. That right there is like, listen to this quilt or listen to the fabric.
Wow. I love that.
But she could hear the needle scratching on the fabric, and she could just hear a right kind of like little ping, or I don't know if it's a ping, but where the needle needed to come up through.
I love that. That's really
cool. And I listened to my grandmother, and I loved her, and she gave me my first sewing box, and my mother didn't start quilting until her mother died. And when my mother died, I could not resist it any longer.
That's really interesting. That's so interesting. So it feels like it's connection to your generations of women in your family.
And those are stitches, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Love it. Yeah.
Those are stitches. And I think very often when I pick up a quilt top that's extraordinary, I found a couple of extraordinary quilt tops that were made by extraordinary piecers.
Yeah.
And a couple of them I paid $15 for. They were being used as some kind of set decoration in a store, And I said, well, I would like that. And they're like, well, it's not a finished quilt. And I was like, yeah, I know. And they're like, oh, okay, well, just, $15 or $20 or something. I feel like that's a stitch, the old saying, a stitch in time.
Uh-huh.
It's like, who made this beautiful thing?
That's right.
And it's been waiting for someone to appreciate it for what it really, really is. I mean, it's pretty hanging out of a bucket.
Yeah.
Next to some, willow tree sticks. That's really
It's so funny. I feel that way about quilt. So I haven't bought. I need to go shopping with you. We need to go on an adventure. I want to sort of see how you do it.
Oh, let's do it.
I think it would be great. We should do a Quilting Army adventure to someplace.
That's great.
So so when you're around, tell me and we'll do it. I'm serious about that. I would really love to sort of see what you see and how you do it. But we were at the show, the GSQA show, the Gulf State Quilting Association show in Slidell, and there was someone selling older quilt, the old vintage quilts, and there was one that was not that expensive. We don't have a big budget for this project, but it was really worn, kind of messed up, and I just loved it. I like the ones that are like they've been used so much that they're broken, and that there's spaces that are worn or whatever. Because again, it's that you feel the love of the quilter, you feel the all that life that's been under that quilt in a variety of ways, and as you say, you're kind of rescuing it. It's like people are like, oh, well, that's not a good one. I was like, well,
yes,
who said, right? Who says, right? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's like saying a really, really old book isn't good.
Yeah. So funny.
It's full. You can feel the information.
Yeah. And it's your thing about these abandoned quilts, or that somebody didn't think it was good enough. And her thing is like, they're all okay. Like, who isn't good enough? Like, she's got kind of a political message of like these abandoned quilts or things that you don't like. She thinks we should be doing some sort of project with it of like having people send us the stuff they don't like so that we can make it into something for kids and sort of having sort of that of like every quilt matters, every kid matters kind of thing. Like that's her whole like, because as you said, people they discard people, they discard things. And they don't recognize the kind of meaning and love behind all of that,
Right. And I'm going to tell you, it really, I guess at the stage of life I am right now, I'm in my mid-50s and I'm, you sort of step out of the fast lane and kind of watch it go by and see where you were, and where you've come from, and take a deep breath. And I have alopecia, so I have no hair, and I have a big scar on the side of my head from a brain tumor that was benign, like 10 or 12 years ago. Yeah. So I don't fall into the norms of what a person looks like.
Right.
And, so there's an appreciation that I have for these older things that have been worn a little bit.
You get it.
But yes, I totally get it. And I'm thinking you get it too, because you can feel the love that's in it.
Yeah.
It's like the Velveteen Rabbit,
And that everything doesn't have to be perfect.
Uh-huh.
Everything doesn't have to be finished, right? And I think that's where my kid, she's a non-binary teen, and she's really sensitive to what you're saying, the perfect person looks like, or what she should be.
Right.
She's got half-shaved head, various color hair on the other side, and people often respond to her not positively, right? They think she's like a bad influence or whatever. And this is like I can't think of a better influence on anybody's kid, but there's a judgment,
There is a judgment. And I think a lot of times people have their first impression is to pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, when you stop and think about it, it's like, what in life that is full of color don't you appreciate?
Right.
I mean, all the prettiest things in the world, the flowers, all the things that are beautiful on the tree, all of the fruits, those are colorful things.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we expect our young people to be colorful?
Yeah. No, it's great. It's really great. So, I do think that having whatever you are, whatever quirk or weirdness you have, which we all do.
Right.
Sometimes it leads you to really interesting spaces. And for me personally, I think those are good places, I like those spaces of recognizing that there's a lot of beauty in the world that may not look like you think it's supposed to look,
But and so I do believe that that's like a superpower.
Yeah. You said at the beginning. So tell me about your superpower.
I think it is kind of a superpower. I don't know why I'm hooked on that word today. I don't walk around saying it every day, all day. But things that the average casual viewer cannot see hidden in plain sight.
I like it.
Mysteries of the universe are hidden in plain sight. Yeah. Most people just walk by them and try to kind of turn a shoulder because they're a little unsettled by it. Right. Even like an old quilt that just looks like, who slept under that? And is it clean? And it's all worn. And I'm like, oh, that's full of good stuff.
It's full of everything.
Yeah. That's full of stuff. And even the fabric feels different because it's soft and lush because it's been honed that way. Yeah. No, there's not a stiff.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you ever feel like you pick up something and it's got bad energy? Like, do you ever go like, oh, like something not good has happened with this thing?
And that could be, and I'm probably just not going to be drawn to that.
Yeah.
I probably won't judge. I won't think like, oh my God, something evil has happened.
That's an evil one.
I would try not to judge like that. But I'll go, you know what? This evidently isn't for me.
Yeah.
It may just have a different, I guess I'm getting all kind of woo-woo here, but I mean, really, it's just not this vibration for me.
Yeah, it doesn't draw you to it. Whatever it is, it doesn't draw you to it.
It doesn't draw me. So no judgment on what.
Yeah. I like the one. I think I'm like you. I like the ones that are not perfect. That they tried their best, but things weren't perfect. Because I feel like that's where I am. I like the idea that somebody values that in the future.
Oh, and if I look at I'm interested in folk art.
Yeah.
I'm interested in things that have a naturalness to them.
Yeah.
That have, I live in a city, Lafayette, where we get teased all the time because none of our roads make sense in the downtown area. And it's because as they were starting to put rock down on old gravel roads, what it was cow trails.
Oh, interesting.
So they just started putting, better dirt down and then gravel and then and they were blacktopped and all of the streets just go in weird directions.
Yeah.
There's no, our streets are non-binary.
So that kind of influences who you are. That's right.
Exactly. But they follow the streets in the downtown area I can't believe I'm even talking about this, but they follow a path that is natural.
Yeah.
Like, the cows, these are the paths that the cows followed in the beginning.
Right.
And sometimes those are the greatest things. Those are the greatest things. And I think a lot of times the best art is not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think things that are done and it's an exact pattern and everybody follows it. Listen, I have lots of that in my life, and I like that
I like that too. It's like doing a puzzle, right? Sometimes you want to do a puzzle. That's great.
That's exactly right. And I love it, and I love perfect quilts.
Yeah, I do too.
I have a perfect quilt on my bed. Let me just not lie about that. But there's something that makes me want to touch things that have more of a natural, earthy line to them.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
And that's not necessarily
That's because you live in a city with cow trails.
I live in a city with cow trails. Do you know? They just seem really good and natural to me. Do you know?
I totally love it. Okay, we're gonna run out of time. See, we're way past. We're not gonna get to a half hour. So, so tell me, I see you around all the time, but we just never have connected, which is ridiculous. So I'm so psyched, and we're so going on adventure. You just tell me when, and we're so going to do it. It's going to be great. I can't wait. So you
live in a city full of really groovy places to shop.
See, I don't know that. So we should just do this. We'll get a group together. We will do this. Let's be in charge of our adventure, because I think that would be really great, and we can teach people how to be adventuresome. Because I'm sure there's people like me that I'm like, you'll see. You're gonna have to hold my hand. I'm gonna get a little panicky. I'll be like, I cannot. I don't know what to do here. It'll happen. I'll get a glazed look on my face.
A lot of those places are dusty, and you have to step over things. Yeah. But
no, it would be cool. Cool. Well, I really think we should get that on the calendar, because it would be really fun. And then the last thing real quick before we have to go, because I have to take the kid to school. Because she just came in and was very polite about it. So the last thing is this Gee's Bend. So we had some of the ladies from Gee's Bend come for a workshop here, and you were one of the participants. So for those, most people know what Gee's Bend is, but it's a group in Alabama that were kind of isolated. They did these amazing kind of almost look like very modern quilts, but they were poor. They used the scraps that they had, and then they were discovered, and they became a really big deal. And now their quilts sell for quite a lot, and they do workshops everywhere, and they've been a thing for about 30 years now, I think, right? Like it was in the 80s and 90s, and they came to see us. So tell me about what the workshop was and what that experience was like.
It was delicious. I've studied with them once before in Arkansas.
I said Alabama. Is it Arkansas?
Oh, no, you're right. I was in Alabama.
Alabama.
It wasn't in Gee's Bend.
Oh, you went to Arkansas. It was.
Yes.
They were in Arkansas. You went to see them. Got it. Okay.
Gosh, it might have been Alabama though. I'm not sure.
Okay, that's okay.
State. How about that?
That's totally okay.
Anyway, in New Orleans, which is, a tourist town, they drew quilters in that flew in from all over the country and Canada.
Right.
Full of women who are making their living at art.
Yeah.
Not necessarily quilting, but some sort of art. It was so amazing. And I'm going to call it, they unteach.
Yeah.
They unteach you. There were a few women there the first day that were very, they were struggling because they were waiting for a class.
Right.
And they needed to learn how to cut a shape.
Right. They felt like it was instruction. It was like how to make a recipe kind of thing. I think
that's pretty typical when you think you're going to a quilt class.
Yeah.
These women want you to be in a relationship with what, in my terms, how I'm describing it. Yeah. This is not what they told me. They want you to be in a relationship with what you are doing.
Yeah.
And it's really just choosing a piece of fabric that looks like it fits the next hole that's there.
Right.
That
it's very improv quilting.
It's very
sort of
improv.
letting the fabric take you where it should be going. And they do have some names for things. You can ask them about it, but they're not teaching you a particular block or how to do anything.
Actually, by the end of the weekend, what everybody realizes is that they're unstitching you. They're like kind of pulling stitches, like all of the rules and things that need to line up in a certain way to be right.
Yeah.
All of those seams start to loosen in you.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's just my way.
Right. And they sing and they talk and there's
the most beautiful gospel music and killer voices, and they are right there with you, and they will tell you a story. They'll come individually to where you're sewing and have a conversation with you, and everybody gets a different conversation, but somehow if you listen, there's some teaching in there for you.
Right.
Yeah. And it was just wonderful, enriching, and I felt so excited and honored, really, to be in their presence.
Yeah.
And
there's
a lot
power
of them,
there. It's so interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I also, because I'm interested in old quilts, I'm interested in old machines. Like I'm learning to use a sewing machine. My next machine will be a treadle.
Oh, I so want to do that. If you get a treadle, I'm coming to your house because I really want to experience the treadle. I really do.
I'm looking for a good working order. I mean, I haven't worked on, but I want a Singer red eye. Yeah. And that's because somebody that I've been watching online, a male quilter, that was a very well-known hand quilter and couldn't do it for medical reasons anymore with his hands, started using a treadle. And he said that the red eye he's doing free motion on a treadle.
Oh my gosh. You'll have to tell me who that is. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, his name is Tim Latimer, and he's offline right now because he's just quietly working. So he just let everybody know, I'm getting offline. I can't do this anymore. But he's got a lot of people following him, and I buy used fabrics. I'm always looking for, I guess I like modern quilts, but I like old things.
Old things. It's so funny because I asked them, these quilts that they make sell for a lot of money, right? They're not inexpensive. the fabric they're using is donated fabric and fabric from Walmart and other places like that. And I just thought that was very interesting, because we have this pressure that we should only be buying at quilt shops. And I think we should be buying everywhere. Personally, I buy everywhere. I buy wherever I find fabric.
I don't have any. I mean, do I like brand new starched quilt fabric?
It's gorgeous, right? It feels so good, God. Right? I totally agree. Yeah,
and it's crisp and it's but I mean, there's lots of fabric.
There's lots of fabric in the world.
Fabric.
I say it all the time. I like that if I have to go to Walmart for some stupid thing at 9:00 at night for my family, I'm going to buy a little bit of fabric there too. It's going to get me to do my horrible chore, right? So yeah, I think
and fine. Sometimes it's not really old. I'm not buying antique fabric, maybe.
Yeah.
This piece. I bought this at Goodwill.
That's so great. See, how do you find these things, right? Yeah, we have to go shopping.
You don't get to find them all the time.
No.
But this is I think it has to be 2 or 3 yards or 2 yards, let's say.
Yeah.
And this is crisp,
beautiful fabric that someone just
someone
got rid of because they either didn't want it or they passed away or whatever.
The word stash.
Yeah.
Means we're all little squirrels packing away for the winter. And after a while, everybody's house, I look at mine and my husband looks at mine. It's you've got to get rid of some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I've only been quilting for 3 years.
Yeah, me too.
So sometimes you just have to get rid of good things.
Sometimes you have to get rid of
if you're not going to use them.
It's totally true.
So I'm trying to just pick up what nobody else wants.
It's so cool. All right, we're going to go on a vacation. We're going to go a vacation of the day. We're going to go to a field trip adventure. Let's plan it. Let's once we get off, let's talk about sort of real. Let's do it, and let's invite the Quilting Army to come with us. And maybe they'll go on their own adventure in their cities. Maybe we'll just have a day of people doing that. How about that?
That sounds great.
Okay, well, you help me organize this because we'll have to figure out how do we figure it out, how do we get people motivated, and then we can just go on an adventure, all of us, around the world.
I'm on it. Thank you so much for your time, Elizabeth.
It's so much fun. All right, hold on. Don't hang up. I'm just going to turn off the recording. So you've been listening to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, and I'm Elizabeth Townsend Gard. If you like this podcast, keep listening. Also, we have a Facebook group. Come join us. We talk about a lot of things. We also have an Instagram account. And of course, most importantly, I really hope you get a chance to quilt today.